Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm not buying books this year. That doesn't mean I didn't panic buy books last year. So today we're talking about books that I panic bought at the end of last year. At the end of last year, I had looked at my list of books that I own and the paperbacks on my shelf and decided that I had enough books and that therefore I should maybe not buy any more books this year. The thing is that over the course of that process, looking at all the books that I own, I discovered a couple of things. First of all, I had a few holes in my collection where I had multiple books in the same series, but I didn't have all of the books in the same series. So for example, I may have a book or two unread in a series, but I have a couple of books that I have already read in a series, but then I might have missed one. I also had a couple of favorite authors who released books who typically I'll either wait for a whole series or I'll wait until I have a particular desire to read that book to buy them. That's just because I know I won't forget about them. I know I won't ever forget about most of the authors whose books I panic bought at the end of last year before my no-buy started. And then also a couple of books that, caught my eye in the moment and that I decided that I would just buy because I could, and I wasn't going to be able to do that this year. Those ones are the true panic buys. Those are the last two. We'll get to those. So the concept of a panic buy is a pretty interesting one, I think. I had literally just finished adding up how many books I own, what I had spent in 2018, and my impulse was to go out and buy, 6 more books that I had no intention of reading right away. This is why I'm doing this. Because that's a crazy impulse. Either I have enough books or I don't. And I have enough books. I really do. I have 780 books. I can't read more than 200 a year. And I bought 6 more. Okay. It's in the past. This is what we're trying to overcome. So here are the books that I bought in the last 3 days of December, right before I started my no-buy. The first one, in fact, the first two are by K.J. Charles, who writes male romance, a lot of historical, some historical paranormal. She is literally one of my favorite authors. I have a tendency to store up her books until a series is complete, and then I don't read them until all of them are out. Although, I think these 2 books might be standalones, so I just kind of wait until I get cravings for her. I hit a book slump and need something that I know will be good, and I know her books are always going to be good. So while these definitely qualified as a panic buy, it was more because when I looked at the things that I was going to be reading, I assumed that some of them would be of slightly lower quality just because there was no immediate impulse to read them. So I wanted to have a couple of books in reserve that I knew I'd like. So the first one is Unfit to Print. It was $2.99. A purveyor of scandalous books and a crusading lawyer go on a mission to find a missing youth. I think this one is Victorian. I was excited for it when it came out. I don't know why I never bought it, but as I said, I just sort of hang on to them until I'm in a slump. The next one is Sinister, also by K.J. Charles. It was $3.99. This one is another historical romance. I think this one's a Regency. That is based around, it's another male romance. I think it's a standalone. And the premise is an aristocrat who's a member of a Hellfire Club, sort of a scandalous, typically men's club, sort of private club, There were all kinds of rumors about these clubs in the Regency period, and they all had horrible reputations, and this sort of looks at that from the inside of one of those clubs. Again, I'll save this one for when I'm having a bad reading streak. The third book is Playing It Close by Kat Latham. This is part of the London Legends series. It was $3.99. I bought this one because I already have read 2 of the books in the series. I think it's 3 books and a novella. I've read the novella, and I think I've read it was either the first or the third book, I can't remember. And then I own the other one. So I owned 3 out of 4 books in this series, and I thought, that's sort of silly. Why don't I just buy the second book, and that way I'll have the whole series. I can read the whole series. And I really like this author. She's really smart and interesting, and rugby's kind of fun for me. When we lived in London for 6 months, we actually used, this is sort of a funny connection. We used KJ Charles' Saracens tickets to go see a Saracens game, which Saracens is the London rugby team. And it was amazing. It was so fun. We don't have a whole lot of rugby in the United States, and I had never really watched it before, and going to a game was very cool. And then, reading romances based in the rugby world is very fun for me now. The next book is Fall by Kristen Callahan. This is part of the VIP series. It was $4.99. These are adult romances, adult contemporary romances. The first 2 books were amazing. The second book, Managed, is the book home of my book BFF, Sophie Elizabeth Darling. She is a social media manager, and she hooks up with the band's manager and proceeds to be difficult and turn his life upside down. And I love her, and I loved the book. And so I'm very excited for Fall. This is another one that I sort of figured I would save until I hit a reading slump. I figure it'll be pretty good. I love the series. I love the author. This one's about the guitarist, and I think his next door neighbor, which is sort of funny because I think that was actually the premise of the first book too. So it'll be interesting to see how this one differs. Same thing. I wasn't going to forget about this one, but I did want to have it on hand in case I hit a slump. The next 2 books, in fact, the last 2 books on my list, are books that I had a passing fancy for. I saw them come across my social media timeline on Twitter, and I was like, well, I know I'm not going to be able to read any of these books next year, so like these ones that just I had a passing fancy for. Never mind that I have probably 200 plus books that I acquired in exactly that way over the course of the last 4 years that I had a passing fancy for and just never read. I don't know. I'm not going to try to explain my logic anymore because it's truly painful. The first one is The Devil in Disguise by an author named Cynthia Eden. This one was actually free, so it doesn't add to my total. The premise is the devil, I think, or not sort of the Christian devil, not Satan himself, but the leader of the underworld type character. And a siren, sort of a sensuous, voluptuous, paranormal person, heroine, who she's, I guess, being chased by bad people, and the this evil overlord of the underworld type person ends up in the position of trying to help her, and that's a dynamic that I find kind of interesting. I'm attracted to the paranormal element of it, and sort of the bad boy made good, or maybe bad boy made not quite so good, but turning his badness to a good purpose is always something I'm interested in. So this one goes on my TBR. It's exactly the kind of thing that I would pick up on a whim and then not read for 4 years. Hopefully I'll get to that one this year. The last one is Picture Perfect Cowboy by Tiffany Reisz. This one was $3.99. It's part of the original Sinister series, which I actually haven't read. I read a couple of the novellas or short stories in that series, and they just didn't grab me. Although I really loved Reisz's Men at Work series for Blaze, for the Harlequin Blaze line that came out in, I think, 2016. Those were phenomenal. They were all so good. The sort of heavy kink-based love triangle seemed like sort of in and out of relationships of the original Sinner series didn't quite grab me. But this book, I actually already read. It was just, it suited me in the moment and I bought it. That's exactly how I want that impulse to go, is a photographer and a rodeo cowboy. The rodeo cowboy agrees to pose nude for a charity calendar, and he, in place of a friend who gets injured. And the heroine is a professional submissive and a photographer, and she shoots him, and over the course of their photo shoot, they end up having a discussion about what it's like to be kinky, and the hero is not comfortable with that, and the heroine is, and they sort of bond. Bond. They do bond. They also bond over the next few days, really, and then end up sort of, well, I don't want to spoil it, but it was actually very good. I really enjoyed that book, and I think I may go back at some point and give the rest of the original Sinners a try, though probably not this year because I don't think I have any more on my TBR by this author. So I can't acquire them. Oh well. Hopefully I won't forget about that come 2020. Maybe I'll write it down. So those are all the books that I panic bought at the end of December, some of which are because I wanted to have books in reserve, some of which were passing fancies, and all added up to a total of $19.95. So I think it's all in all a good thing that I decided not to buy books this year for the most part. As I said before, I do have some rules that allow me to acquire books in other ways, but my focus is reading 200 books off my TBR this year. So that's the books that I panic bought at the end of December. Hopefully that was interesting. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I hope you have a good week. Doubt not, slay some words, and remember, Lex has your back, even when you buy too many books. Bye.